if we let a Supreme Court seat sit vacant for more than a day. And the president has to, and blah, blah, blah. And they play all those clips, and then they go, they smirk, and they go that the Democrats are hypocrites. And everybody goes, yeah, we know that. We don't care. I think Scott Adams is the one who said when pointing out hypocrisy is the lowest form of political analysis because they're all hypocrites all the time.
Yes. Sometimes, if anything, it might be useful to just detect a pattern maybe of what kinds of hypocrisy people care about and what kinds they don't. But like if you say somebody is hypocritical on a basic friends enemy distinction, then that's just pointless. Right? Did you know that this person is charitable to their friends and mean to their enemies? Like, wow, that's crazy, dog. But, at least show that they're hypocritical in a way that you can actually impugn something from their motives, right? This person is hypocritical in a racist way, maybe. You can get something out of that, right? They apply a double standard of some kind in a way that's not political. They're hypocritical in an intolerable way. You can maybe do that, right? And there's something to be gained from there. But just saying they're hypocritical, right? Not everybody is as good as me who's never hypocritical. So this is never going to be useful. Is there any other thing to do with this preference nonsense? I guess not.
No, because it's just nonsense. It's one of those things where you just go, that's obviously bullshit, and you just move on.
Yeah, remember, just say no.
Because you are conservative at heart, and you're falling into the trap.
Yeah, sometimes you just see something that's so insane that you have no choice.
And you can show all the articles from The Advocate up to September of 2020 where they're constantly using that word as the official, as one of the officially chosen politically correct.
Honestly, make preference a slur. At this point, just start using preference like aggressively. Sometimes conservatives will be like, well, not anymore, but there was a time when conservatives used to refer to like these things like mental illnesses. You know what I mean? And they kind of don't do that anymore. But at this point, if they can just start like sneeringly referring to LGBT stuff as preferences, it's a slur. All right, let's do it. Let's go for it. There's no point justifying to them why it's not. Just say, all right, listen, the liberals are trying to force their preferences onto your kid. Go for it. Why not? Dan, you had a story about Kamala getting or one of her aides getting COVID. Let's hear about that one.
Oh, yeah. So not one of her aides, but somebody on a plane that she was on, like a staffer on the plane, confirmed tested positive. This is the most serious thing in the world. And according to the CDC guidelines, you're knowingly someone who tested positive, you got to quarantine for 14 days to make sure, because that's the incubation period, to make sure you don't have it. What did Kamala do? She canceled she takes this seriously, and she follows the science, right? Not like Trump, who's out there licking people, okay? She's following the science. She's listening to Fauci. Fauci says you can't lick anyone unless you've met them on Tinder, and then it's okay. So she took this very seriously, and she shut down all her travel for 2 days because this is all a fucking charade. In the same way that at these Amy Coney Barrett hearings, she made a big deal out of Skyping into the hearing from a separate room in the same building. She was 2 doors down, Skyping in and from her office because it's unsafe. I can't be in there. And on Twitter, you can see a video of her 5 minutes before that getting into an elevator with 15 people. It's actually funny how packed that elevator is. Even in a pre-COVID world, you would have said, I'll take the next elevator. There's too many people on this elevator. And she does that, and then a minute later, she can't go into the Senate chamber because it's too dangerous. It's too risky.
Yeah. I just
want to point out that they're hypocrites, Marcel. These people, yeah. I'm starting to suspect, if you'll excuse me, if you'll pardon me, that they might be hypocrites, these people.
Oh, we can just go straight to the next one.
I like how that was not. We didn't discuss that at all. That was just, oh, Dan, you have a story like I say about it for your magazine, and then you're like, yeah, we're not going to write up that one. But next, what do we got?
I mean, listen, Dan, do you have any comments? You said it yourself. I was like, oh, they're just hypocrites. But luckily, I already got out all the good analysis during my section.
This is starting to diverge from a podcast where we discuss things to just 2 separate podcasts where we each list our grievances and then we just go, all right, your turn, you go, I go.
Oh fuck!
It's like if on Crossfire, if they couldn't hear each other, and they were just like, Trump said this, Biden said this.
Was it Seinfeld that had a holiday, or was it just the airing of grievances?
Yeah, that's the show's becoming.
I want to complain about something for a minute. Now, Dan, you had something to complain about. That does sound pretty.
Before we got on mic, Marcel was complaining about me tapping on my microphone and making noises during the podcast.
Ironically, this is a very feminine podcast. It's just two people airing grievances, just validating each other's emotions while offering no solutions at all.
Well, testosterone levels are down across the world.
All right. New York Post ran an article.
Oh, but Marcel doesn't want to talk about that.
Right. So from the New York Post, smoking gun email reveals how Hunter Biden introduced Ukrainian businessmen to VP dad. Basically, the New York Post confirmed what Donald Trump had said that he knew, we knew, and everybody knew, which is that, Hunter Biden is an incompetent boob who, in a long tradition of children of politicians, got an important job that he wasn't qualified for, and people who gave him that job expected connections to his vice president father. Now, I don't really even have strong feelings about this issue. Getting jobs for your friends and family is half the reason you get into politics at all. I actually would rather politicians
even Ron Paul hired friends and family for his campaign.
That's just what you do.
Because and if you want to put it from a non-corrupt situation, you would say those are the people you trust and that you know.
Sure. Now, in this case, Joe Biden didn't hire his son. In this case, another firm hired Joe Biden's son with the expectation of a quid pro quo.
Yes.
Right? We're bringing that back. It's a quid pro quo, which is, it's just a way to launder a bribe, right? You don't pay Joe Biden, you pay his son, and then Hunter Biden, gives his dad money. But it's
all perfectly legal too.
Yeah, perfectly.
And there's
legal.
really no way to make it illegal that would not.
Yeah, it would
result in crazy worse outcomes.
Yes. And so,
as Scott Adams said about this, it's swampy, but it's not illegal.
And it's not even morally offensive to me. It doesn't even offend my sensibilities in any way. I mean, beyond the fact, Joe Biden's a politician and he's a Democrat. But listen, Joe Biden doesn't even remember if he did anything wrong.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to hold this against Joe Biden. The guy that did those things is gone. This is a new guy.
Even in my ANCAP society, in my ideal corporate junta, you would still see corporations just hiring other people's kids just to you marry in feudal societies, you marry off your son. You do nice things for other people's kids so that they'll do nice things for you. That's just how society works. That's just welcome to it. I don't care about this. What does matter though is that when Trump brings it up, everybody's like, this is a conspiracy theory, right? And Joe Biden passionately denies this very basic aspect of human socialization.
Yeah, he has a great defense of it, which is when you say people have suggested this is improper. He says nobody suggested it's improper, and then you go, oh, okay. Well, the question itself implies that at least I'm suggesting it, but no one suggested that.
It's pretty chat of Joe Biden because people say it's improper, and then Joe Biden's name one person.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting about
Joe
this,
Biden, actually, his whole family does a lot of Chad things. Someone pointed that out about Hunter Biden smoking crack and all that.
Yeah. Oh, it's no. Snopes corrected it. It is meth.
That was real. I thought that was fake.
Oh, it might be fake. Honestly,
I thought
it
that was a
doesn't
Michael
matter.
Malice thing.
But no, Joe Biden does a lot of Chad things. He'll tell people not to vote for him at the drop of a hat. Somebody confronts him with guns.
He's told more people not to vote for him than to vote for him.
Yeah, I respect it. He's I'm really for guns, and I think you're going to steal guns. Okay, then don't vote for me. Yeah. If you don't vote for me, you're not black. There was one where there's a very recent.
He just writes people up.
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah. There's a very recent one where somebody asked Joe Biden, hey, Mr. Vice President Biden or former whatever, Mr. Biden. There are people. Survey shows that 54% of Americans
56.
say that they're 56 say that they're better off now than they were 4 years ago under you and Obama's term. What do you say? And then Joe Biden says if they really believe that, then they probably shouldn't vote for me.
And then he basically just said, but they don't know what they're talking about. They're wrong about their own situation. He said that what he said was, but I would say they have a very bad memory. Glass houses, huh?
Yeah.
Hot meat kettle.
He also said one, I remember with Me Too stuff, where he said, if I believe, I think that was Joe Biden, if I believed such and such, I wouldn't vote for him.
If I believed Tara Reid, I wouldn't vote for me. He said that.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be the opening of this episode is a master clip of all the times he said, don't vote for me. I'm not
going to put that together, but somebody should.
Nobody in their right mind would vote for me.
Yeah.
Vote for anybody else.
Just people who shouldn't vote for Joe Biden. Fake black people who think they were better off under Donald Trump, people
Tara
who believe
Reid,
that he raped.
Believes Tara Reid.
Yeah.
56% of the country.
Perfectly viable reasons. Like, and I respect Joe Biden all the more for
that would
saying
actually
this.
make a really good campaign ad for Trump. Where you go, people who Joe Biden says shouldn't vote for Joe Biden. And then you show the
people think he's a rapist. People who
Tara Reid, people who believe Tara Reid, black people.
Listen, they're all valid. I fully respect somebody who says, listen, I'm not going to justify myself to somebody who thinks I'm a rapist. If you think that, then don't vote for me. It's like, you know what, Joe? I fully respect that. That makes perfect sense. And you would indeed compromise yourself by dropping to these people's level.
Yeah, actually, I agree with that. I think that's true.
Yeah.
If it's
somehow conservatives haven't picked up the lesson here. But what's important here is the way the email. Well, sorry, here's what's least important.
Real rapists.
Yeah, there's sort of an I was going to say here's what's really important here, but it's actually sort of
here's the takeaway.
Yeah, because the original story is this Hunter Biden thing, right? Where it's like, oh, here's the Hunter Biden story and it's important. And then
he's smoking crack, he's banging hookers, he's doing shady business deals, stuff we already knew.
Yeah, and then let's just say, no, the important thing here is that these things were stolen or whatever. Like, because the way the files were gotten was somebody. I don't really care to actually investigate the New York Post sources. Nobody investigates sources anymore. That's something only like dumb conservatives do. And I'm not a dumb conservative. I'm a smart right-wing extremist. Is like some guy ran like a computer repair shop or something, and somebody left a water-damaged MacBook and never paid for it. So he said, all right, this after several months, like, this belongs to me now. And then he started, trying to, factory wipe it. And then he saw like all these emails because, if you take your emails to like, through Outlook or some other like email program, it downloads them onto your hard drive, as opposed to Gmail or Yahoo on your browser, which just kept in the cloud or whatever. So he saw these emails and then he gave them to, who cares, New York Post, or by proxy someone in New York Post. And Twitter is going like, or went like mask off and censoring it. They censored, they locked out the White House press secretary for talking about it. They locked out the New York Post for talking about it. And that's the really like frightening thing, I guess. For a while when the left was going against fake news, they were saying, the First Amendment only applies to established journalism, which again, these are the kinds of people who want to criticize originalism, right? The freedom of speech only applies to real news like the New York Times. Like, okay, very interesting. But now they're just straight up canceling the New York Post, which, the New York Post has never been like a paragon of journalistic excellence, but even hedging it in that way.
By Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, see, so there you go. That's really fun. But if they
Alexander Hamilton's still making news with his controversial right-wing newspaper.
Yeah, which shows that nobody is safe. And we should have known that, and I guess we'll get a bit later. We'll get even more on that later. But frankly, that is more interesting because some conservatives are saying, don't make it about the Twitter thing. Make it about this Hunter Biden story because the left is trying to distract you. It's like, no, actually, this Hunter Biden thing is kind of a stupid story. It's really a non-story. It's only a story from the fact that the left is like passionately trying to gaslight Donald Trump over it. But it is more interesting, actually, that Twitter is going just like censoring anybody no matter where they're stationed. The House Judicial Committee or whatever said Twitter blocked all references to the New York Post story, but let's see if they'll censor it when we put it on our website. And Twitter did. They censored it on their website too. Like that is like, you are not in charge, okay? You do not control the situation. And it's led to some talking about like canceling Section 230, which is like the publisher platform distinction. And it's like Trump was like, well, let's repeal Section 230, which is the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
If you repeal Section 230, then there's going to be more censorship. What you do is you threaten to revoke their Section 230 protections if they do this censorship. That's what you're supposed to do. But all the things that conservatives are doing is like, oh, we're going to bust up Twitter and now there's going to be 4 Twitters. Okay, but all the social medias are already censoring you. It's just more social medias to censor you. Now you can't say anything. I mean, it's just conservatives as usual, just scamming their donors. Right, that's all it is. Because it can't be that
Roe v. Wade.
It's Roe v. Wade all over again, and it can't just be that like I'm just a super smart guy who's seeing these obvious scams and the conservatives are just too dumb to get it. Like they have to know it, right? These people, they're professional politicians. They've been doing this their whole lives. They can't not know that like repealing Section 230 wouldn't help them. And it's an easy